Okay, good morning. My name is Kai Williams. I am the communications manager for the city of Jackson. We are super excited about our announcements. I don't want to delay things. What I want to do is I want to bring you your mayor, Mayor Shokwe Antar Lumumba, to the podium to make an announcement. Thank you.
Good morning. I think we will discover who our mayor is in due time here. It is my pleasure today to announce to make two very important announcements. The first being, it is my pleasure to introduce to everyone our transition team. First, I'd like to start by giving them a round of applause. Now, I admit that I may be biased, but I am confident that we have produced the greatest transition team that the city has seen to date. The people that stand before you have committed several hours going through interview processes, several different meetings, providing information to the administration, which is critical to our development. First, I'd like to speak to the mission that we have before us as a city. Not only are we committed to the ends of creating a better city that works more efficiently and works better with the citizens of Jackson, we want to see a city that creates a model for the rest of the world to subscribe to. So we are intent on making certain that we change the world from right where we're standing. And an important part of that initiative is making certain that we establish a baseline for where we are. It is critical that we understand what has worked and what has not worked through time with our city. And so what this transition team was tasked with was creating a data-driven analysis of where we found our city at this time. What they did, the diligent work that they were tasked with doing, was to look at a cohort of cities that were either similar in size, demographic, geography, or having the capital city status. And in that work, they took each one of our departments, whether it was our police department or our fire department, our public works, our economic development, and so on and so forth, and they looked at the metrics that how the city was performing based on an established set of metrics, and saw how we stacked up against the cities that were our cohorts. And from that information, we learned that in many regards, Jackson was performing better than we initially believed ourselves to be. And in other regards, we saw room for improvement. And so I'm just grateful for the hours that were committed to this and just the attention to detail. This is such a diverse group of representatives, people who come from various walks of life and have all demonstrated a commitment to our city. And so I stand here with pride announcing our transition team, and also announcing the great work of the people who were previously within the administration, who availed themselves to this transition team so that they could do the work that they were tasked with doing. This is a wonderful bunch, and I can't shower enough praise on them for the work that they have done. And I'm pleased to be with them. Before I make the next announcement, I would like to introduce the chairs of the transition team, which was Dr. Safia Omari and Mr. Akil Bukhari. First, I will present Dr. Safia Omari.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to be redundant. The mayor has already talked about the great work that this team has done, the countless hours that they've volunteered, and the very valuable information they provided us so that we could use that in crafting our plan for how we would move forward within the city of Jackson. So I'd just like to thank them. It has been my pleasure to be the co-chair of this transition team. It's my second time co-chairing, and I'm going to venture to say that this is the best team so far. So with that, I will yield to my co-chair, Akil Bukhari.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you, Mayor and Chief of Staff. I'm Akil Bukhari, and the transition process this time around is a little bit different because actually it's still ongoing. We're probably going to do this for about the next 6 to 8 months because we're not done. As the mayor intimated earlier, this is data-driven data collection, and we're trying to make sure that we give them a solid foundation to move forward. I'd like to recognize some of the chairs of the transition, and actually all of the transition team is not here. We had roughly about 70 to 75 dedicated people from all walks of life in all areas of the city of Jackson. Okay, I've got transition chair public safety is William Dilday. Is Bill here? I don't think he's here. Public Works, Marlon King. Personnel, Nashambi Lambright. Legal team, Merida Coxwell. Is Merida here? Education, Dr. Ivory Phillips and Andrea Jones. These are one of those here. Democratic Visioning, People's Assembly, Rukia Lumumba. Human and Cultural Services, Robbie Luckett. Is Robbie here? All right. Administration, Robert Blaine and Dominic DeLeo. Economic Development, Mukesh Kumar and Shelley Michael. Mukesh? Shelley, you here? All right. And Parks and Recs, did I leave one out? No, I got Parks and Rec. Catherine Lee. Catherine, you here? These people avail themselves of their time and effort over the course of the last 3 months. And as I said, we've got another 6 to 8 months left in actually, I won't say finishing the task, but continuing the task. And I'd like to thank all of those that are here and all of those who are not here. Let's give them a round of applause, please. It's all yours, Mayor.
So what we're on a mission to do, as we have announced time and time again, is build the most radical city on the planet. And there have been some individuals who have paused at that term. And what I explain to them is a radical is a person who identifies a need for change and works towards that. And if we see a need for change in our community, then we should be as radical as the circumstances dictate we should be. But in that mission, we understand that no one person or one administration has all of the answers to all of the problems. And so we position ourselves to learn. We position ourselves to gain greater understanding, and that's why the slogan through the campaign was, when I become mayor, you become mayor. Not to say that we'll have the biggest office known to man or the biggest desk we've ever seen, but to say that we're going to revolutionize the process of electoral politics so that people have more voice. People can contribute more to their governance. And so that necessary work has been begun, that has commenced with this transition team. And I would like to correct Mr. Bukhari by saying that your commitment isn't over the next 6 months. Your commitment is over the next several years, so that we continue to work together, so that we continue to have understanding about where our city stands and how we produce a city which is pregnant with possibilities and contributes to a better global society. And so I'm thankful for your contributions. With that, I would also like to announce that this coming Monday, October 30th, will be the State of the City address, where we will speak to the first 100 days of our city. We will speak to the challenges that we faced from the very beginning and the direction that our city is headed in hereforth. And so we'd invite you all to join us at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. on Monday afternoon at Thalia Mara Hall, where we will be speaking to the state of our city. And so if there are any questions that the media has at this time, we would like to entertain those.
Mayor, what are your plans for economic development as you now get past this 100 days? We talked about movie theaters in Jackson, building roads in Jackson. What do you plan to do about things like that?
Well, I think that the way we look at economic development has to be multifaceted. First and foremost, we have to be clear that we're a business-friendly city, that we want businesses to come to Jackson, that we will do all that we can to make the process of doing business in Jackson easy. making certain that the licensing and permit process is no longer overcomplicated. I'd like to commend the work of Dr. Kumar, who has already done excellent work within our Planning and Economic Development Department, where we're literally tracking the amount of time that it takes an individual to receive service out of our Planning and Development Department, and making certain that we produce a department with zero errors, with no errors. We have some very strong stated goals, but we believe we can achieve those. And then beyond that, we want to have a 52-week strategy of economic development, where we look at creative ways of bringing people into our city, whether it be free concerts in the park or different events that we can take advantage of so that we have people coming and enjoying our city. And lastly, we're going to make certain that we utilize creative measures in order to spur our own economic development. We've talked about the possibility of cooperative business models. The reality is that people sometimes see difficulty in investing until you build it first. And so we're intent on building it first so people can see the worthwhile investment in supporting our city and developing in our city, and we look forward to that.
Jackson should have its own movie theater, for example. There's been debate about that both ways.
Yeah, well, I've spoken to that. You know, I've talked in speaking to this cooperative business model. I've spoken of some of the larger cooperative businesses in our country, and the number of companies that people are often not familiar of their cooperative status. Ace Hardware, Land O'Lakes Butter, Florida Orange Growers. The largest cooperative business that is owned by a city that I can think of is the Green Bay Packers, and that's one that I have to accept even though I'm a Lions fan, right? But I believe Green Bay, which is a city which is similarly sized to Jackson, if they can own their own professional football team, then we can surely find a way to own our own movie theater. And so it's not about turning the majority of our economy into a cooperative model, but it is about strategically investing in ourselves so that others can see the worthwhile investment. And when you tend to do that, people see, once you've produced and demonstrated the fruit of your investment, people see the value in investing in your city.
What about road development and the money that's been set aside for road improvements? How do you expedite that? You talked about the need for that. How do you get those roads fixed faster?
Yeah. Well, it's about having a plan. It's about having a plan. What we see is a $2.5 billion infrastructure problem in our city. We're receiving approximately $13 million annually from a 1% sales tax. If we take one project, looking at the fortification project that recently took place, it costs $15 million by itself. And so if our plan is to wait on $13 million annually over a 20-year span, then quite honestly, by the time we receive the last dollar in the 20th year, the first road we repaved would be in a worse condition than it was the year we repaved it. And so what we want to do is execute a strategy of taking advantage of that referendum that the citizens of Jackson so kindly gave of themselves to establish, and utilizing it as an asset. Just as people's homes or their cars are assets, a 20-year referendum of a sales tax is an asset to the city, and so we have to appropriately leverage it to get more money to take on more projects up front and spur that into economic development, literally turning our crumbling infrastructure into an economic frontier. And so we have to establish what is the appropriate amount to leverage so that we're comfortable with the investment that we're making, but we have an opportunity to create for ourselves Jackson's New Deal. We are not using that company currently. As I indicated during that demonstration, that was an opportunity for us to learn, an opportunity to understand the technology and see if it best suits our city. In fact, Megatech gave a presentation to the council just yesterday, and I think that there is a certain level of interest there, but I think there are more questions to be answered. And once we have those questions answered, we will make the appropriate decision at that time.
Akil said that you guys are diving into the data. What are you looking for? What areas are you focusing on? And have you found any problems with any of the accounting from the last administration?
Well, there are many areas. If you look across the different departments, questions about staffing, whether we find appropriate staffing levels within certain departments, whether there's a need to restructure, whether the structure that we currently have is the most conducive for the goals that we've established. And so there are many, many metrics, and it would fill this press conference to talk about all of those, and so I will decline to go into the weeds in that regard. But I can't overstate enough just how committed and detail-oriented this transition team has been towards looking at those things. And with respect to the city's financial state, we've met some challenges that we've seen with our city in terms of finances, but I think that we have to commend the work of the Department of Administration. We have to commend the work of each department within the city as they have looked to make sacrifices so that we could get our city financial house in order. In fact, we've recently, from one of our bond rating agencies, received a positive forecast because of the fiscal responsibility that the administration has taken on early on. And so we're excited about that. That's important. If we're talking about leveraging funds in order to repair our infrastructure, then we have to make certain that we are responsible with our financial means.
Do you think there's a chance that you may look at furloughs at some point, or you think we're past that?
Well, thank you for preempting my announcement for the 100 days. But no, we're excited to announce the expiration of the furloughs. In fact, that was one of the points raised by the transition team, that it was not working for the benefit of the city. In fact, what we recognized is the more we had cut government over time, the more our profit had followed suit and was declining along with the cuts. And so it was no longer profitable. We spoke about Thank you. We're appreciative for the life-saving measures. The more we cut government, the more we saw our profit declining. And as we talked with our bond rating agencies, we found that it just was not a good signal in terms of looking at the financial condition of the city to have your employees on furlough. In fact, I want to commend our city employees who do a wonderful job each and every day. No matter who sits in the executive seat of our city, they are the individuals who are literally protecting lives. They are the individuals when it's 17 degrees outside and a pipe bursts that are waist high in water repairing that pipe, and their work often goes unappreciated or unrecognized. And so we felt that it was a worthwhile and an important thing to do in order to cut the furloughs and look at how we demonstrate appreciation for our city employees going forward. They should see dignity and respect in their jobs and see that administration that is willing to listen to them. In fact, I want to convey the message that they don't work for anybody. They work with their administration so that we can produce a better city. Well, we've looked at striking an appropriate balance between the officers that we have. In fact, one of the things that our budget incorporated or considered was the opportunity to have a new recruiting class. And we are in need of more officers so that we can appropriately protect our streets. But we also want to engage in this holistic approach to crime, understanding that it's not just a matter of policing, but we all have a responsibility. In fact, I must admit that, we were a little slick with our slogan, when I become mayor, you become mayor. not only is it an opportunity for the citizens to call us to task, to ensure that we're doing what they have entrusted us with doing, but it's also speaking to the responsibility that each of us have in terms of making certain that we're doing all that we can to protect our streets, making certain that we control the blocks. In fact, I take the position that every block will be controlled by somebody. It'll either be controlled by a negative force or a positive force. And so we have to make the decision that we're going to control the blocks, that we're going to engage our young people. And it's a much easier task telling a young person what to do than telling them what not to do. And so it is incumbent upon us to engage them. And so we're looking for opportunities in which we can do so.
You see then going more with the academy class? Is that what you hope to do in the end?
Say that one more time.
Are you still planning then, looking forward to adding an academy class since you said it's probably shorthanded?
That is our plan. In fact, I will give the chief an opportunity to speak to that if you'd like. Yeah.
Well, thanks for putting me on the spot. No, really, I think we owe the mayor and the council a real debt of gratitude. The academy class has already been approved. We have already started looking for recruits. We're going to do more of a formal rollout in about a week. But our plan is to hire at least 50 new JPD officers this fiscal year. Now, we're not going to do that in one class or two, but our intention is to hire 50 new JPD officers in this fiscal year.
What's the number count now for your staff?
368,
450?
418. Well, right now it doesn't really do a lot. If we started the recruit class tomorrow, it takes about 12 weeks to train them. They have another 4 months that they have to go through field training before they can ride by themselves. But what part of our strategy is we are still hiring people as we go. In fact, we've got another 5 experienced officers that we're looking at adding in the next couple of weeks. So we can put 5 new officers out into the field. That means I could probably take 2 detectives back out and put them in investigations. So that's how we plan on proceeding.
What I'm going to ask is any questions of that nature. If you'd like to speak with the chief outside of this press conference, let's do that. At this time, we're going to conclude our press conference. I would like to take the opportunity to recognize our council, and I think we have 2 council members with us at the moment, Councilwoman Virgie Lindsay and Councilman Aaron Banks. And I just want to speak to the fact that it's been such a pleasure to work with this council. We have taken on some very big issues within our city within the first 100 days. And I can't overstate what a pleasure it has been to work with this council that gives considerate or great consideration to the decisions that they make. They're measured in terms of the things that we put before them. And I think we have established a wonderful working relationship, and so it has been a true joy. There was one issue that took place with Councilman Banks regarding a Tuskegee-Jackson State game, but we were able to work that through, and so I think we're okay. But we're going to get all corn, all right? We're going to get all corn. But I truly would end with this. After having been in office for only a short period of time, I would say that we're not where we need to be as a city, but I remain more confident than ever that we are on our way to getting there. And so I'm excited about this time for Jackson. In fact, there's an energy surfacing around the nation about what Jackson is going to do. And so we all have to be committed to that end, that we're going to be the model. Thank you so much.